Hi, it's Dave. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts on Ford, their new electric F-150 truck, and why I'm not touching their stock. Ford is in trouble. They are in a major restructuring plan over the past few years, laying off thousands of workers worldwide and taking billions of dollars of related charges. Last month, their CEO, Jim Hackett, who came to Ford in 2017 to revive the company, announced that he's going to quote-unquote retire effective October 1st. So they're going to have a new CEO with new promises, but how many people are really going to be believers? It's interesting though when I look at the top stocks Robinhood account holders have. Ford is actually in the top 100 most popular stocks there. So there are people who still seem to believe in the company and its prospects to turn things around. And I want to take a deeper look here. Ford faces some major headwinds, to say the least. First, their China sales have been tanking in recent years, and this is concerning because it used to be one of the bright spots of the Ford story. In 2016, Ford sold 1.27 million vehicles in China, but that number has been dropping and dropping fast. Last year in 2019, Ford sold just 567,000 vehicles in China, less than half of what they sold just 3 years earlier. In other words, Ford is being absolutely decimated in China as the people there are opting for cheaper domestic brands and better quality foreign brands. Second, Ford is being cornered by technological change. Battery prices are coming down and the writing is on the wall. ICE vehicles have a limited shelf life before they're deemed obsolete. It's as if technology is pushing Ford into a corner and they're trying to protect their prized possession, ICE vehicles. But it's already game over. It's just a matter of time before it becomes evident to everyone that EVs are the future. Some people might say that Ford can develop their own electric vehicle line and they'll be okay. But that's like saying back in the day after the iPhone came out that Nokia is going to develop their own smartphone line and they'll be okay. No, the problem isn't that Ford can slightly adapt their ICE vehicles to beat what Tesla has. Rather, what Tesla has is fundamentally different than what Ford is making and is able to make. Nobody gets the scale and price of batteries that Tesla is able to get, and they're not sitting still. At Battery Day next week, Tesla will show what they've been working on for many years. They will reveal an entire battery production system that takes raw materials, makes battery cells, and puts them into packs at a price and scale that is completely unattainable for every single auto OEM in the world. In fact, it probably will put Tesla at least 5 years ahead, if not more. And on top of that, Tesla isn't standing still. Further, Ford can't match what Tesla offers in terms of autonomous driving software. Ford is a company that's specialty isn't innovation. Rather, its specialty is more maintenance and large-scale operations. There's no way Ford is going to be able to make software that allows cars to drive themselves. Some people say that Ford can partner with other companies who provide that autonomous driving software, like Mobileye, Nvidia, or even Google. But if those companies demand to make money, which they should, then that leaves less margin for Ford, and Ford becomes relegated to the role of a low-margin hardware manufacturer. You might think, is it possible that Ford gets bought out by a tech company like Google or Amazon or Apple? But why would Google, Amazon, or Apple want Ford? Ford has just too much legacy stuff to deal with. They need to maintain their ICE production lines, and they got unions and old factories to deal with as well. If Google, Amazon, or Apple would acquire a car company, it would most likely be a small car company or startup without much baggage. Yesterday, Ford revealed some footage of their new electric F-150 truck that they will be making in 2022. A lot of hopes are pinned on this new vehicle. Let's check out a clip. Ford has some major challenges with the electric F-150. First, Ford isn't offering their customers a whole product, meaning Ford doesn't have a compelling supercharger network where it can solve the long-distance pain point for their electric vehicle customers. Without a compelling supercharger network, EVs will appear inferior and crippled compared to ICE cars. And a lot of truck owners might want to tow a boat or a trailer and take long trips. Without a dense charging network, I'd be scared to take any long trips with a Ford electric truck. Second, in order for the electric F-150 to sell well, Ford needs to make it better than the ICE F-150 at the same price. In other words, sure, there's a small segment of the market that might pay a premium for electric, but most people just want the best product at the best price. So Ford really needs to make the electric F-150 so good that it cannibalizes their existing ICE F-150 line. And tell me, what are the chances that Ford is really motivated to kill the sales of their most profitable vehicle line? The vehicle line that is the bread and butter and lifeline of the company. Most companies, when facing imminent disruption, will choose to save their cash cow for as long as possible. So I'm not expecting Ford to make a killer electric F-150. It takes a special CEO who can see what's coming and who can make courageous decisions to inflict short-term pain on their company for long-term gain. For example, Steve Jobs was fine in cannibalizing iPod sales with the iPhone because he knew the iPhone would be the future. In fact, supposedly Steve Jobs had 2 different teams working on the iPhone, separate from each other. He wanted to bring in some internal competition and heat things up. In a similar way, if an ICE company wants to survive, I think they need to do 2 things. First, they need to establish a compelling supercharger network ASAP. And second, they need to task their best engineers and leaders with making a better electric version of every ICE car that they make, but at the same price. In other words, they need to be on a mission to kill off their existing product lines with better electric versions, but at the same price. Unfortunately, though, that might not be good enough because they're not operating in a vacuum. Tesla is ruthlessly driving down costs and releasing new models. So even if an ICE company makes a better electric version of their ICE car at the same price, it's possible and actually likely that Tesla's version is just better and cheaper than that. It's kind of depressing to think about it if you're an ICE automaker or shareholder. Finally, it's really unfortunate for Ford, but we've got the Tesla Cybertruck coming next year. Now, I've seen the Cybertruck in person, and I can confidently say that the Cybertruck is the scariest and most frightening vehicle ever made in history. At night, when the Cybertruck is approaching you, you feel a sense of dread, like something isn't right, and someone, maybe armed, is going to pop out of the truck, or like you're living in a Terminator movie. Now here's an idea. Tesla should do a commercial with the Cybertruck driving at night, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger pops out as the Terminator telling people to buy this truck. Anyways, the Cybertruck is Ford's worst nightmare, even if they don't fully realize it yet. The Cybertruck will clearly be the best truck ever made, and as I share frequently on this channel, product superiority is the life and death of a company. While Ford has been busy making minor alterations to their ICE vehicles, Tesla has been reimagining and reinventing transportation, and there's just no way for Ford to even have a chance to catch up. It's already over. Innovation has won, and it's just a matter of time before we see all this play out. Back in February of 2014, I wrote a forum post on Tesla Motors Club called Slow Motion Train Wreck. And in that post I said, the ICE auto market being disrupted by Tesla is like a slow motion train wreck, and we've got front row seats. Some say that ICE automakers will eventually release models that compete with Tesla, and then Tesla will be overwhelmed by competition. However, in order to compete with Gen 3, other ICE automakers need to get down the cost of the battery to the same level as Tesla does. But in order to do that, they will need to build battery gigafactories as well. However, in order to build a battery gigafactory, there needs to be significant demand for the EV car you're making. But how can you have significant demand when the price of your EV car is much higher than Gen 3 or has less performance and range? Thus, ICE automakers will be hesitant to making huge battery gigafactories until they see large demand for their subpar when compared to Gen 3 EVs. They might be waiting for a long time, and what will probably wake them up is when their ICE car sales start to decline, and by that time the slow motion train wreck is already in full motion. As car sales decrease, these ICE automakers immediately feel the pinch, and they start seeing losses. Even a 10 to 20% drop in ICE auto sales can have serious negative effects on these businesses, and they will be hit with losses, be forced to lay off workers and close plants. As ICE auto sales drop even further, many of the assets of these ICE automakers become liabilities as they're forced to keep old plants running, supporting a declining technology ICE. Alright, I'll link to the original forum post in the video description. Alright, if this video has been helpful, please like it and consider subscribing to this channel. We're looking at investment topics from different angles, asking the right questions, and trying to get beneath the surface of things. I'm on Twitter at HeyDave7, and we'll see you in my next video. Thanks.